and welcome to episode 4 of how to write a bot using the Microsoft Bot Framework. Last time we were looking at Lewis and the Lewis services to allow the bot to respond to natural language questions and have some understanding of, or potential understanding of, what the intent was in our questioning. One thing I didn't do in the last one was to turn on sentiment analysis, so I just want to do that now. This will allow the bot to not only understand the question but also as it says here, have some kind of understanding of whether the question was in a kind of an aggressive mode or whether the response was sort of negative, and that will help us make the bot a little bit more intelligent moving forward. So the first thing we need to do once we have our Lewis service is to publish it. So let's do that now. Let's publish that off. And as it says here, we're going to get an endpoint URL now. So the bot needs to understand which of the many Lewis services are out there we want it to start using, and it can use more than one. So let's go and find out how we're supposed to do that here. So ready to turn this into bot? Yeah, we are. So let's press this. Lewis bot and C# bot framework 3.3. That's not really. So we come down here, creating a bot, create bot. Yeah, how do we use it? How do we use it? Okay, here we are. Connect your Lewis app to the bot. Using open app settings, we don't really want to use app settings. This isn't an old-fashioned website. Okay, perhaps let's have a look at the documentation bot framework. Let's get back into here. Documentation. Okay, anything in the tutorials? Don't want to Q&A models, don't want to get into that yet. It doesn't look like a view. No. Tutorial, no. Samples. So this is one of the problems with version 4, because it is being released kind of ahead of the documentation following it. The documentation just is a bit lacking at the moment, frankly, and possibly a reason for why I'm doing this. So really the only thing you're left with is looking at the samples. So let's go and have a look at the samples. So it's taking us over to Git again. Another reason why you really need to start learning Git if you don't know it. So, okay, I don't want the version 3 samples. I want .NET ones. Yeah, I don't want the JavaScript ones. So off here to Git. So if you don't really understand Git, don't worry too much. You can just download the zip and that will give you the projects. If you do understand Git, then you can clone it and carry on. So I have done a step before, but I want to show you something slightly subtle about it. So here I've got bot builder samples. Is a folder, and somewhere on here I'll probably have the bot builder samples as the solution. I can't actually see it there. So let's go and just go into here anyway. We can get to that indirectly. So the reason I keep it as a folder is it maintains the structure in terms of how you might want to learn the bot. So you can see here we've got a load of samples. We've got some JavaScript ones down here which we're not particularly interested in. These are C#.NET Core ones. These are the ones we're interested in. And as you can see here, they're numbered. Now the number is important. If you want to go away and start trying to learn about this, and I would recommend you follow the numbered route. And that it starts off with kind of basic ones and starts to get more and more complicated, and then starts to diverge and go on to very specific requirements. So I'd recommend you follow that numbered route. So what we want to do now is do something with Lewis. So I'm going to open the basic bot, because I think that's it says on the tin, it's a basic bot, right? And it looks like it's got some cognitive models in there, so which basically means it's going to be using Lewis. So what's the bot here? Well, again, I always like to open the startup, just double check what's going on. So let's have a little look in here. Where's the add bot? I'm looking for add bot. If I gone blind overnight. Now here we are, add bot, services add bot, basic bot. That's great. So I know I'm onto the right project here. So the project's called basic bot. The problem here now is because I've opened it in folder mode, I'm not convinced this is going to work. Oh, it does work. Oh, great. So we're into the basic bot here. What I do know actually is I'm not going to get a hold of much more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open the solution. So come down here, open the .NET solution. So Visual Studio is pretty good even when it hasn't been properly loaded as a solution, but no, let's not kid ourselves. It's going to struggle if it's not in a proper solution. So I'm going to open the full-on solution now. Go to our basic bot project. Just collapse these, just make sure. So we're going to open basic bot. So go to our startup. And just make sure it should be the same code, right? So it's a little bit further down than I originally thought. So here's the add bot, basic bot. Go to definition. So let's have a look at this. What's going on here? So the basic bot is going to get created, and it's going to have some bot services passed in and some state. And it's also got this little thing here. And anything in capitals, you can kind of assume that the intent is that you're going to have to change that yourself. So it's got some bot services. That's interesting. So we need to. Oh, and here's something about Lewis. Verify Lewis configuration. So it's expecting that when the bot's created, you must have a Lewis service. Okay, that sounds reasonable. So these are the on-turn contexts that we saw before. So don't worry too much about this first line. We've got our message, which is what we saw before as well, and then it's going to say we want to ask the Lewis services to recognize what the user's typed in, and then we can get our top scoring intent, which is what we saw when we were doing our tests. So this looks like the kind of code that we're interested in. So how do we create the services? So let's go and have a look where services was. Double check this again. We know we've seen it already. So this is some sort of read-only service in here, and it's been passed in when it's been created. So if it's been passed in when it's created, and we've got nothing referencing it, then that means it's going to be using some kind of injection to do it. So let's have a look in the startup. So we're looking for bot services in here. So where are you going to live? In fact, let me show you a slightly better way of doing this. So going to bot services. So we've got some references here. In fact, we've got a nice single reference here to the creation. So it's telling us it's in startup. It's telling us it's in add singleton. So let's go straight there. So we're now back in our startup project. We're now in roughly where we were before, i.e. the add bot is down here somewhere. Here's the add bot. And so we're saying that we're going to create a new bot services using the bot config file. So that's the, as we saw before, the basic bot file. That's going to get passed into that, and then it's going to be added to the services using this what's called an injection model. So what's going to happen here is singleton means I only ever want one instance of this bot services to be running, but when anything asks for it, anything wants it, anything needs it, then I'll give you this version here. So this kind of looks like what we want. So let's just go and take that right now. So let's open up our project. So let's add our bot services. So we add a new class. Okay, so again, this is not saying this is exactly what people will recommend you do, but this is how I'm going to do it. So back over to here, so let's go back to the bot services. There's a couple of version names, make sure I get the right one. So I want the class, so I hit the little foldy thing here, collapse that, copy that, straight over here, making no thoughts about what's in there. I'm just blindly copying this. So I'm copying it over, and it's telling us we've got some problems, which is probably fair enough, right? So I do this thing here, which is basically going to tell me, give me some suggestions. Now you won't see me doing this directly, but what I'm doing, I'm using a keyboard shortcut, which is Control full stop, which does the same thing. So it's telling me I can do using. So great, fix it. Done. Not done. This thing here. So okay, I've got some There's no way of automatically fixing it. So what's happening here is this class Lewis application doesn't exist. I don't understand what that is in here. So let's come back to the samples. Open that up again. Go to Lewis application. It does understand it here, so what's going on? So let's have a look at the definition of this. Okay, so it's coming in here and it's telling me immediately that this isn't a class that exists in the basic project. Like, it hasn't something that the author of this project has written themselves. It's coming from this assembly here, Lewis applications AI.Lewis, bot builder. Now that is going to be in the dependencies, right? So we're going to come in here and we're looking for Microsoft.bot builder AI Lewis. So that looks like the trick here. So let's go and see what that actually is called. Probably almost certainly be called the same thing. So we'll open the manage. Let's just make sure got the installed tab on. So it's showing us everything that's installed for this project. And here we are, Microsoft Bot Builder AI.Lewis. Great. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to take that name. Thank you. Do what you're told, computer. Right, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same sort of thing in reverse. So I'm going to go manage NuGet packages. Not installed this time, I want to browse. So can you find that for me, please? And it has, great. So let's select that. Install the latest stable one, sounds like a useful thing to do. So let's install that. It's telling me the other things it's going to install along with it. Seems, well, I'm not going to make any judgment about that. If you need it, you need it. What we're going to do. So take all of that. Thank you very much. Hopefully we won't get any immediate errors. The restore's completed. Everything seems in order there. Great. Let's go back to the services. Still got our little squiggly line. Hopefully now we've got a using, so it understands it. Visual Studio understands it now, so we can apply the correct using statements. So they've gone in at the top here now. We've got our using here. So that looks like the bot services is now all happy. That's good news, but we still need to actually use it. So let's come over to our sample application again. Come into our bot services. Where was it? It was used. It was in startup. We've still got that. Great. So okay. So we've got the bot configuration. Why not just copy this comment as well? It's going to go in before it starts talking about this production. So let's come over to our bot. Open startup. Have a look around here. Is there anything that looks kind of similar? Well, no, actually ours is so small that we haven't even got all that malarkey in here. Got it in here. So let's just paste it in. So it hasn't got the bot config. So where's it getting the config from? So in ours, we're getting it here. Yeah, put it in there. Why not? Seems reasonable. Now, okay, let's just do that. Right, let's just follow that train of thought. So we're in bot config. Okay, so this is where we get the bot config, and we want to end it. Sorry, my lighting system just fallen over. So we add that in here. Okay, let's just run with that for a moment. So everything looks kind of like that's going to work. Great. So now we need to, the bot needs to know about this service. So how does it do that? So if we come back into the bot services, no, sorry, not bot services. We want the actual bot, basic bot. So it's being passed into the constructor. So why don't we do the same thing? Whoops, that's not Visual Studio. So into services, into our main bot, and we can put that in there. We can do services equals services. Let's make a little bit better about that. Do the old control dot to. Oh, what I think I'm giving us a hint. It's a bit crazy. What's going on here? Why am I not getting into sensing this? Yes, we'll give them events. Why is it doing it? Build. Something going on. Something quirky is going on here. Visual Studio is not playing ball with me. I know it doesn't. I want you to help me write it. Why aren't you helping me write it? Not sure. Visual Studio has been a bit unagreeable with me. I'll have to write it myself. Fine. Private read only bot services. Not happening. Horrible spaces. Horrible spaces. Just all happy about that. There you go. Sometimes Visual Studio is unhelpful. Okay, so let's build that. Seems happy enough with that. So it kind of looks like we're all there, right? It's sort of, I mean, we're not using Lewis yet. Let's just see that this thing is still running. Let's put a breakpoint there. Okay, so the old bot emulator up. We want to actually see that this thing is working. Select that again. And as we know before, we just need to type in a message. Doesn't look like this is responding. So what's going on here? So let's start this. Let's see if I don't know. Right, so let's have a look at this now. So what's going on here, I wonder? So let's click in here. Let's put a breakpoint in here. So it's going to stop when... Actually, that's a bit crazy. Let's just put it on here just before we do the services. And let's just check that those services are actually being invoked. So we'll put that in here. And let's run this up again. I'm sure the more astute of you will already know the answer to this, but here we go. So anyway, so in here we're adding the services, so we're creating the bot config. Brilliant. Okay, so the bot config is in there, and now we're going to go and create bot services. So that all seems like it's happened. So it's all sort of looking like it's working. But that hasn't been called. Okay. So now we type. Let's just do restart conversation. I'm just going in 500. Something's up. Something is definitely up. Now, that's annoying. I'm not getting any kind of error messages. Doesn't seem to be anything throwing. Actually, I say I'm not getting any error messages. Let's just double check that I'm not getting any error messages. So we'll bring up, so I'll show you that as a bit more of a just when you run this, let's just get back to the point. I can never remember where this is because I do all the keyboard shortcuts now, but I want to try and show you this. Okay, exception settings. So that's for me, that's popped up down here. Now, when these sorts of errors occur, I like to just turn on common language exceptions and just make sure that's on. So let's just run this now. And still, I'm not really seeing anything happening. I'm kind of expecting stuff to be going on now, but I'm just not getting any errors. So what gives? So what I suspect is happening is the bot wants to be created. Yeah. So we're adding the bot here, which is going to create the bot. But the bot itself wants to be passed in the services. So when you create a bot, it wants the services. But we're only adding those services after the bot's been added. So it's kind of too late. It's annoying we're not getting any help with this. But there we go. So what can I do to help this out? So none of this actually needs to be in here. It would appear to me anyway. So all of this stuff, I believe we can shift out to be in front of the bot. So let's see how life is once we do that. So now what we're doing is we're getting the configuration, passing the configuration into the bot services. The bot services can now be alive. And when the bot is created, bot services should be available to it. So let's have a little look at that now. Let's restart the conversation just for completeness. And now we can see that our bot services has been called. We can see that the bot constructor has been called. And in fact, we're getting a message in. We get a message because when you restart a conversation, we are actually getting messages that are not text messages being sent. So that's what we're seeing on that. And when we do hi, we can see that the whole sequence is done again. That's an important aspect of the bot. That's always been recreated for every message. So you get another message coming in. And there you go, hello world. So we've got our original logic back again. We know we've got the services being constructed. So now we can carry on with our Lewis work. Great. But I think that illustrates one of the issues with things like dependency injection, things like just the bot startup, the .NET coreness of it all. Sometimes you get a problem and there's just nothing really telling you what the problem is, and sometimes you've got to kind of just work it out. You know, what have I just changed? And immediately when I pasted that code in, you may have kind of detected. I went, oh, that's not going to work. But you know, I've taken you through that pain, so hopefully you don't have to suffer that again if you see something similar. So where were we? We were doing some Lewis work, weren't we? We were trying to get the Lewis work going. So let's go back to our sample. Now in here it had a nice little check which was saying let's just verify that we've got some Lewis stuff. So I quite like that idea. So let's go back to our constructor. So we've got the services coming in. Make sure that we've got with underscores. No. Okay, so we've got really? It doesn't understand what invalid I haven't got system. Right, okay, fair enough. Let's add that back in. We haven't got our Lewis configuration, so I need to go ahead and take that as well. Just a little constant. Your Lewis service name. Alright, fair enough. The key in the bot for Lewis instance, in the bot file, multiple instances of Lewis can be configured. Yeah, okay. Let's just take all that comment. That's fine. And we'll go and put that in here. So what's our I can't remember what we called it now. Maybot. No, fair enough. So let's just go Maybot in here as well. Maybot's just the name of it. I think it's exceptional. So we've got the configure. The bot does not yeah, okay, so let's run that. Start conversation. Alright, Visual Studio's flashing at us. We've got a breakpoint hit. Yeah, so we know we're coming in here. That's great. Services running. Oh, bang. Oh, we've hit our test. The config does not contain anything. So whilst we've created the framework for everything to work for Lewis, we haven't actually explained to him where to go and find our Lewis implementation of our application. And as you can see here, the bot configuration does not contain a service type. So, bot So in here, it wants the bot. Now, this is annoying. So we go over to the sample. There you go. Okay, remember, what does it have in the bot configuration here? In the bot configuration here, it has got our service, our Lewis type. So type of endpoint, that's the one we had for our web service, where the application's kind of living, bot application. And now we've got a skeleton one here for Lewis. So let's grab that. Kind of looks like what we want, sort of. And we're going to move that over to our bot. So we just put that in there. Another service. Good. Right. So the name of it is the name that we gave it. So that was Maybot. That's fine. Our application ID, authoring key, subscription ID, version, region. Right. So these are all a little bit of a pain to get, I think. So we come over to here, and what you're going to do is you're going to come into your keys and endpoints. I'll kind of show you that with the static because I don't really necessarily want to give those up. So we're going to come in here and we're going to have our key, and we get the key from here. So the key's copied. We're going to move that into here. We're going to start filling all these in with numbers. So you'd put the key here, which is going to look like some sort of GUID numbery thing in here. You're going to get your authoring key, which is going to come in here, and your subscription key. Yeah, okay. So look at the endpoint, and on the endpoint URL, you can see the subscription key and the region, right? So I'll come back to you in a second once I've got all these in. So get the authoring key. So let's run this again. Now we've entered all our key information. Let's see if we get any further. So that's that running. Open the bot. Let's do a little restart. Now then, we're in the bot services. Let's have a look what's happening here. So we're going to get the configuration types. Look at the types. Not interested in that. This is actually really poor code. So they're the two endpoints, and now we have our Lewis service. Let's create a recognizer. Seems to have done that correctly. Now when we come in here, we step through these, and it's going to contain it. So we are looking much better. So again, just make sure that the bot is actually still working. Yep, still working. So it's still working, and now we're not throwing that exception. So life is looking a lot better. So next step here to get our Lewis model working, let's go back to our sample. So we don't need that configuration setting anymore. Let's go back to the bot itself. Yeah, this is right. So into the on-turn context. So we're saying, can we get some scores from the board here? Over to the bot. So this is where we do our unturned context. Back in the main bot. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. Okay. So I don't like underscores. Don't do underscores. Right. So DC context. What's happening there? So let's have a little check. DC context is coming from dialogues context. Okay. I'm going to explain what that means. Let's just go and get it because we need it. Dialogues is coming up now. So, doesn't look like we got it, and that is not Excel. I'm telling you. Oh, that is not Excel. Right. So over to here again. So we got something that looks a little bit like dialogues. We do. So let's just go through that same trick again. So come back to our bot, do manage NuGet. NuGet. Go to browse, put in bot dialogues. Here we go. Install this. You're going to be installing all that. Fair enough. Whatever you need. Restore has completed. Good. So let's just go back to our bot. Bot. Dialogues is still squiggly. Not anymore. Ah, don't want to do that. Didn't want to do that. Want to using? Why isn't it giving me using? That's weird. What's going on there? Got our dialogues. Let's go back over to here. What is going on here? Definition. Dialogue set. Definition. Dialogue set coming from bot builder dialogues. Ah, dialogue set. Yes. So we have got a new dialogue set. Okay, yeah, right. Let's just rewind a little bit. I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. So the recognizer, what does the recognizer want? It wants a turn context. Do you know what? We don't need this bit yet. I don't want to confuse things just yet. It just wants a turn context. Just give it a turn context. Let's not overcomplicate things. We need a dialogue later on. Right, no doubt. You always need a dialogue. Always. But for now, let's just stick with the turn context. Let's not try and complicate things. So we got our breakpoint in here. That's cool. So let's just run that. So we're going to come in here and we're going to just restart this. So let's just say something like hi again, why not? So I don't need to look at this anymore. I'm pretty convinced this is working now. We can turn that off. Same here, turn that off. So we're going to get our message in. Is this going to be a message type straight away? Yeah, it is. Good. So an invalid return. Gone. Status code of gone. Do you know what? I don't think I've ever seen a status code of gone. So let me go and find out what that is going to tell me. What have we got here? Operation returns invalid status code of gone. Do you know what? I've never ever seen that. Gone. Sounds like it's been redirected somewhere else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my Lewis settings. Alright, so just thought we'd go over the configuration settings. So let's just redo this because I made a mistake. So here we are with our kind of default. In fact, we've got West Europe in there already. I'll show you where that's coming from. So we're coming to our Lewis page and we go to Manage. So the first thing is our application ID and application information. So you want to just copy that and put that into the app ID section here. That's fine. Author and key and subscription key next. So we come back to here, go to our endpoints. So here's author and key. Come back into Studio, but author and key and subscription key are almost certainly going to be the same, but we'll just double check this. I'll show you. So we come here and we've got this URL here. So let's just copy that and come back over to the bot author and key. Let's just put this on a line underneath here. It's just going to be a big URL. Right. So the West Europe thing, that's where we get this bit from. That's where I grab it from anyway. So we don't need that anymore, that first bit, all the way up to subscription ID. So the subscription ID here, yeah, it is actually the same as the author and key in this case. But we weren't to know that for sure, so let's just put that back in there. So now we've got our application ID, author and key, our subscription ID, we've got our version, we've got a region, and we can now do a run. Let's just run that off now. Come into the bot. Just do a restart. Doubly sure. Get a message in. So we always get the kind of handshake message when we restart our conversation. Oh. And just do hi. Let's see what's happening in here. So that's where we're getting our configuration and we're all good to go. So that's where you get your configuration settings from when you do it correctly. Thanks. So we're going to run. Where is it? Bot framework. Going here now. So let's do hi. See how many times you don't really get that right. So we're going to come in here. We're now going to fire this off and hopefully we won't get a weird gone. Great, so now I've actually put the right ID in. It works, amazing. So let's see what our top scoring intent was. Defense, but only at a measly 23%. So this isn't surprising because the word high doesn't really make any of our matches. So it's fine, get the top string of the intent defense and then we'll just carry on as normal. So that, brilliant. Now, what happens if we say something like, have we spent enough on the Navy this year? So now we come in, we've got messages coming, off to Lewis. What's our top scoring intent is defense again. 83%. Cracking. So now we know we're talking about defense. So we'll look at else. Because if you remember, we did enable some other services. So we're looking in here. We've got our Lewis recognized result. Okay, it's got some entities in, nothing of any interest in here. Got our intents. So look at that. Intents, got an intent score. There's their score. And nothing else. It's not really what I wanted to see, but there we go. Okay, interesting. Why are we not getting any values back from that? Okay, cool. Defense, intent. I was looking for, I was expecting to see a sentiment in here. I must say. Not sure why. Ah, here we are, sentiment in the properties. Oh, of course, isn't it obvious? So we're saying here that the message we sent in appears to be of a negative, and we are the scoring with sentiments is a little bit odd. It's kind of 50% is neutral, above 50% is positive, below 50% is negative, and the lower away from that 50% you get, the more sure you are of it. So the smaller the score, the more sure that it's quite negative. The higher the score, the more sure you are that it's quite positive. So this is saying it's quite a negative statement. So what did we actually type in? What was our? I can't remember what we said now. Let's see if I can just grab it from here rather than getting it from the bot, from the emulator, because we like to do things in a techie way. So we come down here, and have we spent enough on the Navy this year? So it's quite interesting that machine learning has considered that to be a very kind of negatively posed question. It's quite a confrontational type question. So it's quite interesting to see that already. So as you can see, we're getting some information back from Lewis already, which is good, and we can now go ahead and start thinking about how best to react to these. So that's going to be the end of this quick introduction about how to integrate Lewis into the bot. So we now have a basic bot working. We've now seen that it's quite difficult to get information on V4 and how to use it. So you want to use the samples whenever you can. And also keys are very important when it comes to Lewis. You get them wrong and you get weird errors. So hopefully, we can leave it at that point, and we can then move on to the next one where we can start now actually writing some logic about how your app is, which frankly isn't that important to me right now. The important thing is to show you that we've got the services running and integrated together. The thing I really want to show you next is how we're going to integrate that into some form of conversational piece of work. So thank you. I hope you can join me for next episode.